Hi, I'm Jane Tourday and welcome to this little talk I'm going to give you about all the free salad, herb and vegetable fruit gardens in Hexham, part of a campaign which is called Edible Hexham. And this September, it's playing a part in the National Heritage Days Out Festival, open days in England. And the theme is a wonderful theme, Edible England. Who wouldn't be interested in that? However, I haven't ever filmed myself recording a talk before, so please be patient with me if there's a bit of fumbling sometimes. But anyway, I will tell you what we're going to do. Since the lockdown summer of last year, I've been a volunteer helping to plant and maintain edible Hexham troughs, plants and tubs, planters and tubs around the town for those who live here and for visitors too. And prior to this little job, I've actually been creating gardens and cooking from them, cooking produce from them for over 50 years, more or less, and writing about those two pleasures. In the millennium year 2000, I had the opportunity to restore an old railway station on the disused Hexham to Allendale line. It was a secret place, hidden away in the tranquil woodland at Langley, where I lived. With a terrific team, I decided to convert the pretty Victorian green painted wooden station at Langley into a small scale centre for gardening and art courses. And when we were ready to open, I christened it the Garden Station. And here's a picture of it exactly in that summer of June 2000, just before we opened for the first time, looking pretty pristine. Now, the Garden Station became a place to go for a creative day out, or just for time out, time to relax, drink tea and eat cake and stroll around the garden. For our courses, they were run by inspiring experts, but home-cooked lunch was often a part of the day's experience. That was my role. I basketed dishes up in my kitchen at home, half a mile away, and drove them round in my van, Buttercup. Not exactly a garden picture, but I was very fond of Buttercup. I served what I called garden food to everybody who came on the courses, from relaxed meat eaters to strictest vegans. And in 2004, I recorded the recipes in a book called Happy Food. There it is. It last sold at Ree in Corbridge, but it's out of print now. And there's a picture and a bit gives you an idea of what it was like. That's a delicious tomato salad, yellow tomatoes in black and white with purple basil in black and white there. The style of food that I produced there was something I've enjoyed producing ever since. And I'm long retired from the Garden Station now, but it's still going strong. It's a wedding and a party venue, and the garden is most lovingly and attentively maintained by the current owners, Jill and Terry. For the past 2 years, I myself have been living very happily in a tall house in Hexham, the town where my life in Northumberland began. At that time, we lived in ancient Holy Island house at the bottom of Giles Gate on the east side of Hexham. My 2 sons, now in their 40s, were born there. Piers is a writer whose novels for children and young people focus on saving our planet through imaginative stories. And the series through which he's done that is called the Wild series. And I'm going to reach over and get a whole pile of Wild books to show you briefly. There they are. And the very latest one is this one. It's just come out. Just put that back. It's rather heavy. Nick, my younger son, founded and runs a progressive business with the same focus, BauerCollective.com. It supplies pure, chemical-free household products in refillable containers. Bauer's core mission is to rid the oceans and beaches of as much plastic as they can. And here's an example of their containers. It's rather beautiful, I think. Very elegant as a cleaner container goes. There's a sustainable laundry liquid as it arrives before it's decanted. And there is, sorry, I'm just going around here. There's a little welcome to the Bauer Collective. Now, I would like to say this isn't just promotion for my family. We're going to move on now. But what I really would like to say is all our concerns are connected at the heart. Crowned by its 12th century abbey and its beautiful gardens, the historic market town of Hexham, where I lived in the mid-1970s, was a conservative one in every respect. To ask for an aubergine at the greengrocer's might be to be met by a very strange look. But local butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers were absolutely terrific and excellent. And it was normal then to shop at local food suppliers until the convenience of the big supermarkets swept in and changed the scene. Now things have changed again, and there's a strong emphasis on supporting high quality local food producers, a movement that's been gathering momentum since 1999 here, when the farmers market in Hexham started to find a place alongside the traditional weekly market of many years standing. Markets of every kind are lively and fun, and there's a real sense of action and friendly community here in the Hexham markets. Once upon a time, in spite of being in the far north and with a shorter growing season, Hexham was famed for its market gardens, apple orchards, and notably for gooseberries, produced by Hexham nurseryman William Fell, who in 1861 sold his entire stock to Mathesons of Morpeth, who in turn started exporting gooseberry plants by the ton to the United States of America. In smaller quantities, you can now find gooseberries growing with black currants, red currants, raspberries, and strawberries in edible Hexham gardens. Gardens or not, Hexham was not necessarily a town of sweetly scented air in the past, in the 19th century, and worse still in the previous 17th and 18th centuries. A prime business generated by the cattle and sheep farms in the area was the production of leather goods, and the skinning and tanning of cattle and sheepskins for leather, from gloves to saddles, was a most undesirably organic process, requiring fish oil, animal fat, and a solution of bird excrement, a noxious substance of unimaginable stench, recorded one historian. Organic garden practices today tend to be wholesome and healthy, enriching soil with materials decomposed into sweet and handleable compost, not unlike the crumbs of a good chocolate cake. Not to be confused with agricultural muck spreading by tractors on a larger scale. But the once fertile soil, which earlier bore fruit in Tynedale, has become increasingly compacted and compressed, reduced into a sterile landmass beneath existing buildings. Buildings under construction, holding essential drainage systems, power supplies, churned up by endless roadworks. Civilization as we know it, but not for much longer. There's something else going on below ground. above ground, in the air, in the rivers, and in the seas, destroying our future at an alarming rate. The global catastrophe, which I hardly need to tell you, is called climate change and extinction. For any form of life to be sustainable, from the tiniest insect to the largest elephant, there must be water to drink, food to eat. But we are not completely helpless. We were never too small to make a difference. Small positive actions are a part of our defense to protect our future. So it was when I moved into Hexham from the countryside 2 years ago and started walking rather than driving around the town, anxiously parking, shopping and rushing home again, that I started to notice a number of very attractive troughs and containers and beds too, planted with bee-loving flowers, herbs, fruit and vegetables. The growing movement of edible Hexham, Hexham's inviting people to pop a bit of garden in their pocket and take it home to enjoy. Amazing, an actual invitation to tuck into fresh food for free. Foraging in the town. We're all used to certain types of countryside foraging, starting with our old friend the blackberry. But this is another kind of foraging, a new kind of foraging. So with all these edible Hexham resources, there are plant labels in place. And from now on, there will be QR signs for you to connect with your phone, taking you straight to the Edible Hexham website for tempting recipe suggestions. And here are some of the plants that you will find. And I've just picked them this morning. Okay, I need to hold them up, but you can see they're all herbs of different kinds. Sage, you can also eat the little tiny pansies there that grow in the troughs. Flatleaf parsley, silver thyme, and at the back, some marjoram. There may be some, oh yes, and some sprigs of rosemary as well. So that's, there we are. Now, I don't have a copy at hand, but there is a brilliant new illustrated map just out to take you on an edible Hexham trail. It shows you where you can enjoy a walk, find the planters and beds around Hexham, and take in some of its history at the same time. Our recent history has been dominated by COVID, but lockdown compelled us to slow down. It also gave us the time to see properly, if we could lift our eyes from our mobile phones, etc., and to appreciate the incredible array of treasures in the natural world immediately around us. Unable to shop freely for months at a time, the realization that we can, even with just a window box or a small pot, grow stuff for ourselves. From farm fresh salad leaves to baby tomatoes to a single sunflower. During the 2 world wars, in the most desperate circumstances, in trenches, in prison camps, soldiers found hope by sowing and growing tiny gardens in the most improbable places. My own father was prisoner of war for 5 long years at different prison camps in Germany. And he was responsible for receiving secret radio BBC news broadcasts and distributing the information around the camp. He did this every evening. He had other tasks as well. He was a Londoner who loved gardens. 80 years ago, in September 1941, his letter home mentions the success of his pumpkins and sunflowers in his garden at the prisoner of war camp at Warburg. I'll just show you one picture of my father when he was a prisoner, and that was taken in 1940, quite early on. Gardening, growing things, whatever the scale of our efforts, it's one way of protecting our mental health, which is something we hear more and more about. And in fact, of feeling surprisingly happy and helping at the same time to safeguard our planet. The troughs and planters of edible Hexham are placed so that a working mum or dad, or carer for a mum or dad, hurrying on their way, can pick a handful of fresh leaves to put in their pocket to take home, or a strawberry to eat there and then, or a seasonal plum, in this case, and I'm going to have that in a minute. So pop a garden in your pocket and perhaps make a little one of your own if you haven't already. Thank you so much for listening.